A lot of ponies talk about the Steel Rangers without really knowing about them. They talk about how they would do anything to get their hooves on technology, how they kill ponies indiscriminately, how they don't care for the lives of ponies. I'm here to tell you that they're wrong. Well, mostly wrong. While it's true of most members of the Steel Rangers, it's not true of all of them. I should know. I used to be a Steel Ranger myself. Still am, really. I just have a new name and paint job for my armor. I admit, most of my compatriots did some unsavory things. Things that I'm not proud of. But if it wasn't for one Ranger, I wouldn't be here today. I'm not going to say this makes up for everything the Rangers have done, but we're changing as an organization. The wasteland has changed, thanks in no small part to ponies like the Lightbringer or the Jewel of the Wasteland. But in order to survive these changes, we had to change too. It wasn't an easy change, and some Steel Rangers resisted it. Even today, there are still pockets of the old Steel Rangers out there, not as powerful as they once were, but they are still out there. My name is Star Paladin Nova, and this is my story. Stable 9, on the outskirts of Seattle. The stable was constructed to be a repository of knowledge and the arts, a stable where history and knowledge was preserved. Or at least, that's what it used to be. Today, it was a war zone. The Steel Rangers had figured out how to get into the stable. Led by Star Paladin Mandrake, they set upon the stable like a swarm of ravenous insects. The inhabitants only put up a token resistance as the metal monstrosities stripped their stable bare. Knights Rusty and Rose, search these quarters, the ranger ordered as the two younger rangers split up and began searching the quarters one by one. Knight Rose was smaller than your average Steel Ranger, but even so, her armor gave her an intimidating appearance. She searched the quarters. There were two unicorn ponies lying dead on the floor, blood pooling around them from bullet wounds. Such senselessness, Rose muttered under her breath. Why had these ponies fought so hard? Something in this room had to be important enough to fight for, even at the cost of your own life. She started looking around. There was what she had expected, food strewn here and there, paintings, books, what she had seen elsewhere in the stable. There wasn't exactly anything worth dying for in here. She checked her EFS. There was something on her EFS. It was a mark for a friendly, all right. For a moment she thought it was one of her allies, but it was too close to be that. Okay, that's strange, she muttered as she started looking around. Finally she pressed a button, which opened a secret panel. She was surprised at what she found inside. Inside, wrapped in a blanket in a small basket, was a unicorn filly. She was asleep, but opened her eyes when Rose tried to check on her and began crying. Shh, calm down. I'm a pony just like you, Rose said as she removed her helmet, revealing a maroon-furred earth pony. Come on, stop crying, please. The filly stopped crying and looked up at her perplexed, not sure what to make of this new pony. Rose looked at the child sadly. The Star Paladin would never let her keep the child. Would he? She replaced her helmet and gently placed the basket on her back, making sure it was secure before heading out. She met up with the other Steel Rangers at the entrance to the stable. Star Paladin Mandrake was checking everything that they had found. Slim pickings, he grunted. It will have to do for now. What about you, Knight Rose? Did you find anything of value? Nothing, sir. I found a filly in one of the quarters, but that's it. Her parents were killed, Rose reported honestly. She tried not to flinch from the look that she was likely getting from her CO behind his helmet. Sir, she's too young to remember what happened here. We could always use more children for the Steel Rangers. I will discuss it with the Elder when we return to the base, Mandrake said with a growl. Until then, she is your responsibility, Knight Rose. Yes, sir, Rose said. She took one more look at the sleeping filly and nodded. After that, the Steel Rangers filed out of Stable 9, leaving the inhabitants inside to their fates. Fort Hayford was an old pre-war military base that had been converted into the Steel Rangers' base of operations in Seattle. Rose was pacing back and forth in her quarters as she awaited an answer from the Elder. She sighed as she checked the filly again. She had been pregnant once, but the child was stillborn. Complications from the radiation, the doctor had said. It left her devastated. Was this maybe an attempt to fill that void in her life? "It's okay, little one, you'll be okay," Rose said reassuringly to the filly, who just looked up at her cutely. "Don't look at me like that." "Night, Rose?" a deep voice asked, causing the pony to jump. She turned to see another Steel Ranger, but she recognized that it wasn't the Elder. He was another Star Paladin, Steelhooves, one of the most respected members of the Steel Rangers. "The Star Paladin Steelhooves, I didn't know you were on the base," Rose said as she bowed respectfully. "I was nearby, and the Elder wanted my opinion on your issue," Steelhooves said. "You had a child before, didn't you?" "Stillborn," Rose said as she looked down at her hooves. "I am sorry," Steelhooves said. Even though his voice was cold, she could tell that he meant it. "The foal. You are the one who found her." "Her parents were killed in the raid," Rose said regretfully. "She has no pony left in the world." Steelhooves looked thoughtful before nodding. "I am going to recommend that you are to keep the child, if you raise her right." Rose perked up at that. She was surprised at the Star Paladin's generosity. "Thank you." "Do not abuse this trust, Knight Rose," Steelhooves said as he departed, as quietly as he had arrived. Rose trotted over to the basket and carefully took the foal into her forelegs as she smiled down at the child. "Don't worry, I'm going to take good care of you. Nova." I don't even remember that day. All I know is what Knight Rose, Mom, told me later, when I was old enough to know the truth. I was raised as a Steel Ranger. It was my destiny to become one of them. Or so I thought. Maybe I should have questioned it more, tried to understand the history of our group better. Maybe if I had, things would have been different. But by the time I learned the truth, things had changed. There was a new war. A fracture between the Steel Rangers formed, and I was caught up in it. After all, every war has its renegades. And war never changes.